Hey everyone, Coach Dave March here, and if you haven't gotten to this before, this is the Growth Mindset Podcast. We're in the Apple Podcast, we're in Spotify, YouTube, and we have special guests come in. And this time we have Kim. Kim is really got a great business where she's creating community, which I think is more important than ever now in the digital world that we live in. She is she's growing, and she's got multiple different locations where different chefs can be present. I'm excited to hear about her. I'm excited to hear how she has grown and how she really is able to develop people and lead companies to or lead the company to success, really. So, Kim, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, your company, and tell the folks what you do.
Sure. I'm Kim, Kim Gandhi with Food Fire Plus Knives. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. We've been in business since 2016. When I started, we had five chefs, not five chefs, five cities, and we had 25 chefs. Today, we're in over 40 states and over 300 chefs. So we continue to grow all the time. Private chefs, the whole community aspect of it, really after COVID happened, one of the things that people were all sitting in homes, they were still scared to go out to restaurants and things like that. And so being able to bring family, friends, people together and then have the chefs come in was less risk in the early beginnings of getting out of COVID. But now people are finding, it's just it's a different experience than being in a restaurant or anywhere else. So the chefs love it. They get out from back behind the kitchens where they never see any of their customers. And the customers get to see chefs live in action. And so they both learn from each other. So the community aspect of what we do is there's so much storytelling that goes on. And I love the stories that come out of these different events that they do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about telling people stories. That's what I, that's what I, that's what I do here. And yeah, it must be great. I mean, it's like having it, and do you, so talk to me more about like where you typically see these private chefs. So that is it at a home? Is it at a business? I mean, it sounds like you can do it in multiple different locations.
Yeah, I mean, the chefs go pretty much anywhere. I mean, we've had events out in parks, we've had in hotel rooms, which is a little interesting when there's not a stove, but they'll bring in hot plates and things like that, all the way to, people when they go on vacation, if they're renting a vacation place, want to, they've got 10, 15 people to go to a restaurant with that many people, especially kids, can be a little rough. Bring in a chef, you get the quality of what you were expecting with the restaurant, but you get to be up close and personal with that chef as well and see what he's doing. Our chefs are local to their cities, so once in a while we'll have somebody ask for a chef to be flown to somewhere, but 99% of the business that we do, the chefs are local. They're looking at their local, cuisines and make sure that it's farm to table, make sure that it's fresh and from the area, which especially if you're on vacation, being able to experience the cuisines and get the story behind some of them really makes the whole event nice.
Yeah, farm to table. That got me excited. I think that's what we really need more of.
Hmm.
Where I think we're at a point now where we're kind of sick and tired of the ultra processed foods, and you know, the less amount of food miles your food has, the better.
Yeah.
So if you're going farm to table, they're likely working with your local farms,
Hmm.
and that must be a lot of work too.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. What they do in the exploring. But if you think about it, we all go grocery shopping. We all want to go to different places. These guys are just, they have kind of figured out. I've got a chef, for instance, a chef over in Charleston. He can tell you the whole story of where he gets his grits from. He goes directly to the mill, picks up his grits there, comes back, and it's a very southern, shrimp and grits, because that's one of the, key items that happens over in Charleston. But if you have somebody out in California, you're into the cuisine that's out there, it could be more Asian fusion or, a lot more vegan, vegetarian. We see a lot of that depending on which region we're in. Texas, of course, very big proteins, and that sort of thing. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
just have stories in each single region, and the chefs themselves sometimes share, they'll say, hey, I need something because this customer's asking for something, do you guys know where it's at? So we also have the internal community with the chefs that, they interact with each other. It's a lonely world out there. Somebody's got to build a community, and we're trying to do
Totally. I love the idea of community. What I'm looking to do here is, with all these episodes and Growth Mindset podcast, is build a community of people that are all interested in, you know, leading people, great leadership. And so, I'd like to talk more about kind of your leadership at the company. Talking about people that were kind of like, how do you say, diamonds in the rough, if
Mhm,
you will,
mhm.
and how you were, able to, develop them and grow them.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is not my first career. I've re-engineered myself a few times, and so a lot of my diamonds in the rough are from other things that I've done. I was in IT and in corporate world for 20, 30 years. At Food Fire Knives, most of our chefs they're used to being in restaurants. They're used to, having all of the infrastructure that a restaurant has. Now coming into being a private chef, setting up how you do your billing, how you do your pricing, the menus, giving them feedback on this menu's working, or, maybe you've got to tweak these menus a little bit. If they've never been in the private chef industry, they can be great executive chefs, great chefs in their own right, but coming into the business and being successful at what we do, there's coaching that goes around that, and I've been really lucky. The talent that comes in, they're very eager to make a mark. They're tired of being in the back in the stoves and not watching people enjoy the food. And so the burnout that happens within the restaurant industry, I am lucky because the people coming into our company, they're like, oh, this is going to be a new life for me. And so I don't have a lot of those, oh, this is going to be a grunge job and I'm just going to, come to work and I'm just going to, put in my time and I'm going to go home. This is them taking their personality and showing what they can do. And so it's fun having coaching sessions with them because they're just like, what else can I do? I want the customers, it sounds so dumb, but it's like, well, how do we get them to tip us? And what are some things that we can do to make the gratuity, worth the customer's while? And I'm like, well, you gotta give them the experience that they want. If you come in, cook, and you've got a bad attitude, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So those sort of coaching moments, and then watching, if you come out to our website and take a look around, the 5-star reviews are phenomenal. I mean, we just have really top talent doing that. And when they get those 5-star reviews and the write-ups that they get from the customers, sometimes customers write paragraphs. And that is just a badge of pride, and they can't wait to get the next one. It's really, it's a drug. You're like, okay, how do I get that next one, and what else do I have to do to get that one? And if they're not, if they aren't getting reviews, they aren't getting negative reviews, or they're not getting positive reviews, they'll come in and go, well, what do I have to do what that person is doing? And they're very receptive to the feedback. So it's made my job easy in this particular career. It's been just really a lot of fun.
Yeah. You say that this is now your dream job?
It is. It is. Well, and I was just with a chef last night. We basically did a small party, and just I realized I hadn't seen him for 2 years, and but we talk via we have Slack, and we talk on the phone and check in with each other, and they're part of the family now. And so seeing him last night, it wasn't like 2 years ago. It was the last time I saw him. It just feels so much closer than that.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. So, looking at like the trends that are going on now, where do you see the future of, you know, food going and the chef and restaurants, all these kind of things? Where do you see the future trends kind of coming in?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the food experiences are just going to continue to grow. Startups for restaurants, startups for, the overall hospitality industry, it's a tough life, and you're having to hire staff and then keep them happy and pay the bills and make sure it's profitable and take care of the customers. Um, we're seeing a huge growth within the private chef industry. The biggest challenge that we see with it is people having the qualifications. How do you get enough experience to be successful out in somebody's home? You can say you're a private chef and go out and make 30 different mistakes right out of the gate. So making sure that people have the training and going forward. The industry itself for private chefs is probably going to, last I heard, I think it was 3 weeks ago, it's probably going to have another 50% growth in the next 10 years. That's how, people, it is a newer industry. I still talk to people when they call in on the phone. If they'll call in the phone and I happen to be, grabbing a phone call here and there, they'll say to me, I've never heard of this before. This is really cool. I'm really excited that I landed on your website. We didn't know this existed. So it's not for anymore for just the ultra high net worth people. People can do it for a special occasion. It's about as expensive as going out to a fine dining restaurant. And you have the pluses and minuses. If you have kids, you don't have kids running around the fine dining restaurant. They're at home. They can have some chicken and fingers, or whatever, cheese sandwiches or whatever they want. But
Yeah, yeah.
and the parents can really enjoy a top-notch meal.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. I think it's important. And as we kind of evolve and everything, again, I think that the farm to table stuff is going to be really important. I think we're going to have to, um, kind of go into that. Um, yeah, big, yeah. Oh, oh, good. My phone rang too. All good. Yeah. So, with regards to kind of the whole idea of getting new chefs on, and also the idea of being innovative, that resonates with me. I mean, a lot of people that I connect with are usually in that field and in that wheelhouse of like, oh, I haven't heard this before, and no, this is new to me. This is kind of the world that I live in, because I do some pretty new things. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, people haven't heard about. I mean, I do like video resumes for people now. Just kind of something innovative, something different. And if you're talking about how you're bringing new people in, it's like, how do you assess that, right? If you just look at their resume, you don't really know what their knife chopping skills are, because like, what are they gonna put, like, knife chopping 10 out of 10, like out of what scale, like what?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, so we do have a really nice process for us recruiting, and the big thing for us, and I think it does differentiate us from other companies that do what we do. We don't just have people apply and just get on our website and say, oh, I'm a private chef on. Every single person has to apply. We go through their resumes. We do check out their credentials and see where they've been, see which restaurants they've been in, and that sort of thing. We do a video interview, so just similar to what we're doing here. We
Perfect.
talk to every single chef that we have. We want to see how they're going to interact with us. But also it gives us a pretty good understanding of how they're going to relate. If they can't, if they have a hard time talking, if they have a hard time telling stories, we ask them to give us a story of one of the dinners they've done. It tells you a lot about that person as you're watching it. Then, once they've gone through that, we actually take them through another video with us on the phone, going through the onboarding process, how to create the menus in our system, how to put the availability in, kind of give them a rundown of everything there. And then we use Slack, our messaging tool, back and forth. That it's an open, helpline for them to reach out if they ever have a question, something the customer came up with, what else can they do? They have a way to reach out to us, and we can coach them through that particular set of questions. So it's an ongoing relationship that we have with them. We do rely on the customer reviews. It's really, really important to us. Somebody that, is getting a one or two, if you look at the site, we don't have them, because those chefs, if they do get that sort of review, what'll happen is no one will book them, and they end up, leaving the platform because nobody's going to hire somebody that's a 1 star. So the chefs that we have there strive for those 5 stars. They beat themselves up when they get a 4 star. But overall, every single one of those 5 stars really also gives validation. So it's not, Food Fire Knives is not telling the customers, hey, these are great chefs. Read the reviews. The people that are out there are saying, this is a chef you want to have in your house.
Mm-hmm.
We do background checks on all of our chefs. So that's another thing that a lot of places don't do. Because we want to make sure this is a stranger coming into either your rental or your house or wherever you're having them. There's a safety factor involved, and you want to make sure that they're okay. So we do background checks. And then the final thing, is for us is, we will do feedback loops with customers. If we just feel, is there something, that we should know about? And we'll work with the customers in regards to any of those. We want them to have a great experience and come back.
Yeah, I mean that's the name of the game, right? Definitely. We had another guy on the podcast talking about like customer success. We want the customers to come back. We wanted to have a continuous experience. That's a big deal. Um, so really, really cool. So as we kind of start to close down this episode here, um, I wanted to get into a little bit more about you. Is there any challenges that you have gone through recently in developing this company, from 5 people, or really any kind of things that you've learned, you can share your wisdom with us on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, last year we re-engineered our website, and there's always a lot of innovation coming in. You balance what is the right amount of automation versus humans. We're a human company, but we want to do as much automation as possible in order to keep our costs down. And so when we re-engineered the website last year, we messed up a little bit with our whole search algorithm, for
Mm.
Google and that sort of thing. And search engine optimization is so important to companies like us online. And we had a little bit of a blip where things came down. Luckily, not down too far.
Mhm.
And we started seeing the numbers in our searches not happening as often. We weren't as visible to our customers. And I think we especially, Mike and I, Mike's the CEO, we just were like, okay, we're going to roll with this. We're going to learn from this, and then we're going to come back. And it's that not giving up on something. There were days where you're sitting there going, geez, what did we do? Why did we do this? And overall, the new look and feel of the website and how it flows and the ease of use, it is paying off now. But there was some dark days where like we should have just stayed
Mhm.
with the old.
Yeah.
And so, I would say when you have those days of, geez, why am I doing this and going through, having somebody that's, really in the trenches with you and somebody, that you can trust and you can have those conversations and go, now what else do we do? And we're not going to give up and we're going to turn this around. And we found a really great marketing team, worked with us, and the numbers came back, and now you look at it a year ago, and we're like, okay, this was the right thing for us to do. It was painful because we learned along the way. We learned a lot.
Yeah, the
Definitely
growing pains.
never
Yeah,
feel you should never feel like everything, and we didn't go into it knowing we knew that we didn't know everything, and we've learned so much with it. But I think it's also just it was a testament with our chefs. None of them left us. They
hmm
were like, we believe in the company, and we want to have bookings, and we're here for you. And so the whole, our whole community really kept us together. And I think it could have gone a much different way had we not built for so many years the trust and the brand that we had.
totally.
So, for me, it was a huge learning curve. I did not have a deep understanding of search engine and Google. I have learned a ton. All of my stuff was really more, I worked for, with CRM companies and big corporate organizations in IT and
Yep.
did services. But I wasn't really in the marketing side of things. So, yeah. I will never say I'm an expert, but man, I know a lot more now than I
No,
did.
very good. Well, good. Yeah, I mean, look, that's huge, and yeah, it does talk about the type of leadership that you guys have there, where you're able to retain the employees and create an environment where people want to stay, and I think that's really key. Really, what we want to see more of. Um, and so, as we kind of end off on this episode here, for anyone that has been listening over a long time, we do want to offer a gift for your long attention. Um, Kim, what was the gift we talked
Yeah.
about?
So, anybody listening, if you want to come over and visit our website at www.foodfireknives.com, hit us up on chat and let us know that you listen to the podcast, and we'll give you a $50 gift certificate towards a future, engagement or dinner with us, or lunch, breakfast, whatever you want to do.
Perfect, perfect, great, and so that's the best way to contact you. Go on the website, go on the chat. That's the best way to people to
That's
reach out to you.
reach out.
Perfect, perfect. Well, you heard it here first. Uh, thanks so much, Kim, for jumping on here. It was a great episode, and if you're looking for some good eats wherever you are, you know where to go.
Thanks so much.
See ya. Bye bye.